I still remember the first time I realized how terrifying silence could be. It wasn't the absence of sound in a void of space that struck me. It was what the silence meant. It meant the universe had paused. It meant something was coming, and by the time I understood, it was already too late. Back on Earth, or what we once called home, storms had always been loud. I was a child when the first thunder cracked above our village, the sky splitting as if it would fall onto us. My parents pulled me under blankets, holding me tight, and I thought for the first time that the world could end with a sound. Later, there were car crashes. I could never forget the twisted metal, the screams, the sudden deafening rush of chaos. Even at school, during a museum trip, the demonstration of the kinetic rifle made my ears ring hours afterward. And then there were the stadiums, the professional games, the roar of hundreds of thousands of cheering fans. The vibrations of that collective voice shook the stadium, rattled my teeth, and embedded themselves in my memory like a warning. I thought those were the loudest moments of my life. I was wrong. I was 23 when I first left Earth, signed on with a deep space mining consortium. The stars were no longer dots of light. They were endless corridors of risk and sound. The hum of ventilation systems, the low rumble of arti-grav, the subtle vibrations of FTL engine 7 at rest. The ship breathed around me. At first it was comforting. Then I realized it was deafening. Every creak of the hull, every hiss of overpressurized air, every vibration of the machinery, it all screamed, and I had to listen. I had no choice. Our first jump was smooth, the space lanes quiet compared to the chaos we would face. But even in those early days, I learned that mining ships were death traps disguised as workspaces. One misaligned docking could crush a hull. One miscalculated detonation could carve through the decks like a knife through fabric. I saw men crushed, ships ripped apart, alarms shrieking, and explosions swallowing entire decks. The void amplified everything, the sound of panic, the fire, the grinding metal. Then the pirates arrived. We were far on the outer rim, near the debris field of the Archon cluster. They didn't come with subtlety. Their ships were massive, brute constructs, jagged like the teeth of some mechanical predator. When their plasma cannons hit our hull, it wasn't just noise, it was annihilation made audible. The floor shook, the walls bent, metal screamed as it tore, and even the empty void outside seemed to quake with each impact. My ears rang for hours, my skull a drum of pain and adrenaline. Yet, amidst all that, the quiet moments, the pauses between blasts were worse, because I knew the silence meant our lives had stopped, even if the ship had not yet. After a particularly close call with a mining accident that swallowed half our crew, we learned the lesson the hard way. Survival depended not on brute strength but on understanding sound. You had to feel it, track it, interpret it. A vent failure here, an overcharged conduit, their silence could kill as efficiently as explosions. I remember the first alien we encountered, our scavenger species, part crystalline, part organic. They didn't speak like us. They emitted vibrations, pulses, frequencies. To the untrained ear, they were inaudible, but their silence, when they studied us, was horrifying. A stillness that made every clatter of our ship sound like a gunshot. My crewmates froze. I froze. One wrong move, and the moment would be over, and we would die without understanding what struck us. Years passed. I learned to navigate by sound. The pulse of engines, the subtle hum of artificial gravity, the whisper of decompression, each became a language. Each told me who was alive, who was hiding, what the dangers were. And I learned that sometimes, the loudest sounds were not explosions or crashes, but the absence of them. Our deepest jump took us beyond the mapped sectors of known space. We were alone, or so we thought. Then the void shifted. The silence became oppressive, thick, like the weight of centuries pressing down. And in that silence, I heard it. A click, subtle at first, then multiple clicks, growing in pattern and rhythm. I recognized it as a weapon calibration, a pulse rifle sequence, not ours. Someone, or something, was aboard. We found them in the medbay, not hostile at first. Tall, angular, luminous creatures, their skin like liquid metal, their eyes reflecting every light source. They did not speak in words, but I understood the meaning instantly. They were scavengers, but not the pirate type. They were sentinels of something older, something that had been lying in wait in the darkness for eons. They gestured to our control panels, to our engines, to the broken hull, and then they were gone, leaving only the lingering echo of their movement in the ship. I don't know how they moved so fast. I don't know if they made sound or if the void carried it in ways our instruments couldn't measure. All I know is that after they left, I could hear the ship differently. The silence wasn't empty anymore, it was alive. Every metal panel, every pump, every airlock whispered warnings and histories and instructions. Then came the war. Not with pirates, not with mining competitors, but with the void-born, a species from beyond known space, as old as stars, and twice as cruel. Their attack was a symphony of terror. Pulse, weapons, gravity displacers, plasma showers, the screams of my crew, the groan of metal, the explosion of fused rock from nearby asteroid colonies, all blended into a soundscape of apocalypse. And when the silence returned, after the last shuttle burned, after the last hull depressurized, it was louder than any noise I had ever heard. I floated in the wreckage of my ship, alone, hearing every subtle vibration in the metal frame. The absence of life, the absence of sound, pressed into me. It was deafening. It was knowledge, it was judgment, it was reality. I was the last witness to this corner of the universe, and the silence screamed at me. It taught me that sound is not just noise, it is presence, it is life. And when life ends, the silence is absolute, and absolute silence is the loudest thing in the universe. Even now, decades later, as I drift on a rebuilt vessel through the outer rim, I remember those early thunderstorms on Earth, the museum rifles, the stadium roars. I remember the hum of ventilation, the groan of metal, the pulse of engines, the shock of plasma fire, and the crushing quiet that followed. I know now that the universe has two faces, one of noise and one of stillness. One will make your blood race, the other will make you understand mortality. Both are terrifying, both are absolute. And I still ask myself, when will the universe speak again? And will I be ready to listen?